It's October 29, 2018. At Jakarta Airport, a Lion Air Boeing 737 MAX 8 prepares for Flight 610. On this day, Bobby Sunejo was the captain and Harvino was the co-pilot. Both were experienced pilots. The captain from India had 6,000 hours of flying time, and the co-pilot from Indonesia had 5,000 hours. On board were 20 employees of the Indonesian Ministry of Finance, Italian cyclist Andrea Manfredi, and 168 other people. At around 6:20 am local time, the plane takes off, heading towards Pangkal Pinang. After just a few seconds, the first problems begin. The captain's yoke begins to shake, signaling a potential stall danger. Pilots can't identify the sources of the problem. A moment later, the co-pilot notices inconsistencies on the captain's and co-pilot's instruments. They show different speed and altitude. The pilots are disoriented but must continue climbing. At about 5,000 feet above the sea level, Captain Suneha has difficulty keeping the nose up. The Boeing 737 MAX now flying over the Java Sea is becoming increasingly difficult to control. After struggling with the aircraft for a few minutes, the plane begins to dive towards the sea. At 6:33 local time, after 12 minutes of flight, Boeing 737 MAX 8 crashes into the sea. Everyone on board died, 181 passengers and 8 crew members. After some time, the sea began to throw airplane parts, human remains and luggage onto the water surface. The crash caused great sadness and mourning among the families of the victims, as well as raising aviation safety issues and controversy surrounding the new Boeing 737 MAX 8, which operates flights around the world. An investigation has been launched into the crashed Lion Air Boeing 737 MAX 8. It turned out that the day before the accident, the same plane flying from Denpasar in Indonesia to Jakarta encountered the same problems as the pilots of the unlucky flight. The crew of the flight on October 28, 2018, managed to reach their destination safely. The pilots of this flight reported the problem to the Lion Air service, which after checking the plane gave permission to take off the next day for Flight 610. The next day, unaware of anything, another crew boards the plane. Just after takeoff, pilots are faced with the problem of a vibrating yoke warning against the plane stalling. Then there is another problem of the captain's and co-pilot's speed and altitude instruments not matching each other, which is caused by a failure of the pitch angle sensors on the nose of the plane. The investigation also showed that these sensors were one of the causes of the crash. The pilots make a left turn towards the Java Sea, with the yoke still vibrating. At 5,000 feet above sea level, Captain Suneha begins to have difficulty keeping the nose up. This is caused by a malfunctioning maneuvering characteristics augmentation system called MCAS. Boeing 737 MAX differs from its older models in its engines. Due to their larger size, they are extended in front of the wings. As a result, the aerodynamics of the aircraft change and it tends to lift the nose. That's why Boeing decided to include MCAS in this model, which is designed to prevent such situations by automatically lowering the nose by turning the trimmer when the angle of the values coming from the sensors exceeds the established limit thresholds. Unfortunately, due to incorrect reading of these sensors, This system turned out to be deadly. After a few minutes of the captain's struggle with MCAS, the nose of the plane lowers too sharply. Boeing 737 MAX enters a dive from which there is no escape, and then crashes into the Java Sea at high speed. Unfortunately, the pilots were not trained enough to deal with the problem, which also happened to the crew of the previous flight, who simply turned off the system and safely landed in Jakarta. 5 months later, an Ethiopian Airlines Boeing 737 MAX crashes into the ground, taking the lives of 157 people on board. The cause of the disaster was also a malfunctioning MCAS system. After these two crashes, FAA decided to ground all Boeing 737 MAX aircrafts until the problem with the new system was eliminated. Planes eventually returned to service after Boeing made significant improvements to systems and training in 2021. Boeing, in order to remain in first place in the world's best-selling aircraft, damaged its reputation and contributed to the death of over 300 people. This should never have happened, but it did.